my girl. You're the type of woman to make a man get right.
God's going to speak to both of you. And so you got to communicate about the things that God's talking to you about, not from a standpoint of the Lord told me to do this and you better do it with me, but from a standpoint of, I think this is what I'm hearing from God. Tell me what you think about that. What do you see? Because you got to practice communicating with your spouse as if you're both God hearing people. You got to practice that. And if you have a spouse who's kind of lagging behind and hearing from God, that'll actually grow them up, because you'll begin to challenge them to have a relationship with God so they can contribute to it. So you're not the one just running the bus all day. Because if she's my co-pilot, it's like, we got to be in agreement about this. I can't do this and run this on my own faith. This is our faith project. This is our business. This is our family. This is our whatever, and there's so many things couples disagree about, but you got to get in agreement. And it's the same God, so you can't be afraid that you're going to miss it, because the same God is speaking to us.
I know that there's a lot of questions too, because it's probably somebody thinking, what if the husband or the wife is slowing me down or slowing the project down because they're not hearing from God? Because I know there's been plenty of times where I frustrated you because I'm much slower in moving on certain things than you are, especially when you say you hear something from God. So sometimes you would tell me something the Lord said, and you would say, well, go pray about it. And then it'd be 2-3 days later, you're like, well, have you heard anything from God? I'm like, nah. So that will frustrate you so bad. And I would get frustrated because seeing you frustrated, and I didn't want to frustrate you. So I'll sometimes just go along with stuff.
Well, to answer that question from the perspective of the one who's like, in every marriage, you got someone who's like really clean and someone who's really dirty. You got someone who's really organized, someone who's unorganized. You got someone who's very creative and someone who's very non-creative. And so in our relationship, I would come off as a super spiritual one, and her as a not so super spiritual one. It would come off that way. But we're actually really different. She's actually very spiritual. But so, yeah, I used to get frustrated. But what I've learned is patience and compassion and empathy. And what I had to realize the Lord had to speak to me about was that as long as it's taking me to learn some things that is learned, I've got to be willing to give everybody in the world the same amount of time to learn that thing. And so when it comes to my wife, there are things that I'll mention to her or will share with her. Sometimes not about something for us to do, but just anything. And if she doesn't seem to get it the first time, I can't get frustrated. He's like, Jalen, you didn't get everything I ever tried to get through to you. It took you a bunch of times before you got something I was trying to get through to you. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't be hypocritical about that. I got to give her time. And I've got to trust God enough to know that we're not going to miss anything.
Exactly.
We're tithers, and it says in the Bible that tithers, that your vine will not cast its fruit for its time in the field, which means that you will never be too early or too late for anything that God has for you. So I've got to trust. He hooked us up. He orchestrated this thing. He knows the timing. So I can't be afraid that, if she doesn't get it, I just learn how to do that. I'll try to push it and get her to see something, explain it 50 million ways, and it would just frustrate the situation. Would be an argument about something spiritual because I'm trying to push it instead of just letting God speak to her. And understanding that maybe I'm not right about this, or at least not 100% right about it. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe her being slow about being on board is actually going to preserve us from falling on our faces and breaking something, So you can't be so prideful to think that you're right all the time. Well, I heard from God. Look. There's something called submission. Submission protects you because it keeps you from making mistakes because you think you heard something from God and you move too fast. You got to have somebody you're submitted to who can tell you, hold up, no, let me tweak this. You're missing it a little bit. And the moment you think that you got it all by yourself and you can hear from God solo and never be corrected by anybody, it's the moment you're in deception and you will lose.